Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Walking Dead Wednesday here on our podcast. I am Sam. Joining me today to discuss all things zombie related or posters is my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Hey, may the 4th be with you.
Yes, very true. Yeah,
I'm aware it's the wrong podcast, but
we'll start it with May the 4th with you and also with you, my friend. It is Walking Dead Wednesday. There's bound to be zombies somewhere in Star Wars.
I assume so.
But yeah, we're talking Fear the Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 11, the title of the episode.
Ophelia.
Yeah. Me and you, since this show came back, so the first two episodes, we've not been very impressed. We've been kind of like, not really sure what they're doing here.
Yep.
I went into this week's episode making her directorial debuts, Alicia Debnam Carey.
Yes.
So I went into the episode absolutely wanting to love it.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week.
I'm going to start with some positives, guys.
Go for it, man.
The whole cage torture device over zombies, that was cool. I quite like that as a torture device, lowering people in a cage, like a shark cage over zombies.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. Yeah, go on, carry
I have
on,
a weird question about that, but yep, that was cool. Sherry was in this episode. Big positive there.
You do like her, don't you?
I'm partial to a Sherry, yep.
Yep, nice.
Can't stand the drink, but yep.
Yep.
There's an interesting character arc maybe starting with Wes.
Okay.
And yeah, thanks everyone. That is a wrap.
Yeah. So obviously we're going to go for it, and obviously
there wasn't any weird underage teen fantasy crap this week, so there's another positive.
Yeah,
there we go.
I really want to leave that in the past.
Yeah.
So with this episode, then again, we're kind of. I mean, this. I don't know whether you can class this as a bottle episode or not, because it is. We do see a number of characters. We do see an advancement in terms of, trying to get the weaponry and stuff like that. But everything that's kind of advancing the overall stories in the background and happening off camera.
Yeah, we see the main story advancements in the last 5 minutes again.
In
last week's episode, everything but the last 5 minutes of, oh no, okay, so Charlie now has radiation poisoning, but she's going to live in the tower. Oh, interesting. That was the last 5 minutes.
So let's talk about the shark cage thing.
Yes.
Because that is a very cool visual. It's something, and I honestly don't know. I don't watch The Talking Dead or anything like that anymore. Everyone knows why. But I don't know if this is a nod to, or just if they, in this show, thought it was a cool thing. But so some time ago, and I'm talking back when The Walking Dead was in like Season 5 or Season 6, and the comic was still going strong.
Yep.
There was a character that was being kind of designed who was actually going to be a British character. Now, the reason why they did that is because they thought it was hilarious that so much of the cast were Brits. So they wanted to create a British character, and ideally they were going to cast an American because they thought it was just like a stupid...
Yep.
The comic book was going to create this guy... it wasn't Robert Kirkman. It was a guy who wrote with Kirkman who sort of had this idea. Now, the idea didn't happen. It never went ahead in the comics, therefore it never made it to the show. But the guy, during the pandemic, released like via tweets and stuff like that. Like, oh, this was the concept. It was fun, here it is. And the whole concept of this was going to tie in with... or the concept that they were going to go with on the TV was going to tie in with the CDC and everything like that. And trust me, I am getting to the shark cage bit. I promise.
Okay, I believe you.
This is really long-winded. But the basic idea was, we all know that in France and in Europe, in the CDC in episode 5 of The Walking Dead Series 1, Dr. Jenner says, France or Paris were the last people still working on this.
Yes.
Etc. Etc. Now, we now seen in the world beyond, by the way, that it appears not only were they the ones working on it, they're the ones who caused this.
Quite possibly, yep. We can blame France.
We can blame the French, which I love, by the way. As a story thing, that was the best thing about the world beyond. That was said. It was an after credit scene to the final episode,
and it only really made sense to the British.
And it did. Everyone else, I don't know. Actually, I know a fair few Americans who'd feel that way. They call them freedom fries, not French fries now. But anyway, so continuing this, so the idea was there was a team of scientists from Europe being escorted by a group of soldiers from Britain, special forces, and they were going to Atlanta to get to the CDC to bring the research to the CDC in the hope that what was happening in Europe wasn't happening in America, and in America with the resources could find the cure. Obviously, the world fell apart. By the time the plane landed, Atlanta was ripped to shreds, and this team had to try and get the scientists to the CDC. By the time they got there, the CDC had been destroyed, the team had been ripped apart, and there was just literally one guy left. So there's one soldier with a backpack full of all this information. He doesn't know what to do, and he's stranded. So he has literally decided he's in kind of combat mode. I'm just going to get home. Yep. So without any kind of direction or anything, this character is going to try and get from Atlanta to the East Coast to find a boat. This guy's just not thinking in terms of the world's ended. I'm on a mission, and I'm just going to crack on with it. Mm-hmm. So it sounded like a fun kind of character. And anyway, the idea was he was going to be come across by Rick and Daryl, who were basically going to be out one day doing a run, and all of a sudden they hear this really loud music. And when they sort of go to investigate, they find a shark cage and a guy sat in the middle of the shark cage with like a machete, and he's blasting out from the shark cage like sort of Guns N' Roses or something, like just absolutely blaring it, and all of the dead from the area are coming to him, and he just stands up, dead from inside the shark cage, and it's just bodies all around it. And then he hits a button, and like a pickup truck lifts the shark cage. He steps out from under it, walks into all the stores that are there, which are now emptied of the dead, fills up his truck with stuff, puts the shark cage back on the truck, and drives off. And the two of them are just like, who the what the hell is this guy? And that was going to be his introduction and all this stuff. And he's like, we had all this concept, and then like the show went a different direction and blah blah blah. But this was the planning, and I thought I'd share it. But the shark cage thing, I always thought whenever I saw that would have been just the coolest visual, just such a fun, like such a smart thing to do. Like rock up in a really busy area, lock yourself in there so they can't get to you, and as they get close, just pick them
off one by one.
Dead. But yeah, so in this episode we do, like you said, see the shark cage, and it's used as like a kind of torture device by this guy. So to walk through the episode, we got a cold open, which is Daniel and Luciana playing this, basically a card game.
It's like a
to
memory
try and help
game
his
with
memory.
toddlers,
Where you try and find the matching cards. During this moment, he does call Luciana Ophelia, which again sort of speaks to his growing confusion. She does correct him, which is she sort of corrects him quite nicely, and although that seems to jog his memory, like, oh, of course you are, I'm sorry, I misspoke. He doesn't seem to be aware that Ophelia's actually dead. Like
years ago,
Yeah, like a long time ago. There was a lot of callbacks in this episode around Ophelia. Obviously they mentioned Mexico a number of times, mentioned the Abigail, the boat, a number of times. But Morgan and the others are going looking for guns. I kind of wish I was following that story, to be honest with you.
I think they could have walked to an area on a map, gone, there's the bag in the back of that car, turned around and gone home again.
To be fair, that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
that's probably why we didn't get to follow that.
Yeah. Oh, there's the car. That's the right registration. Grab the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Dwight, Morgan, everyone else have gone off to find some cache of weaponry. It's amazing how many of them just kicking around.
This far into the apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. Now, whilst they're all talking about that, and Morgan's sort of saying to Luciana, like, as much as we might need you on this, kind of need you to stay here with Daniel. Kind of need you to stay. You're doing great stuff with him, but we need his mind because we need him to help us defeat Strand.
Yep.
And Luciana's like, oh, is that the only reason why, you think I'm doing this? Is this, gets on a right moral high horse.
Oh, essentially, like, there were soapboxes everywhere. She was climbing them.
Yeah, and Morgan's a bit like, okay, yeah, look, I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I'm just.
How
I'm
dare
conscious.
you use this man only for a weapon? Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, she really climbed up on that high horse and rode it hard. And Morgan was like, look, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm just worried for all of us, and I know that Daniel can help us because he's outsmarted Strand loads of times.
Yeah.
He's the guy amongst all of us who can get one over him, definitely. Yeah. So that's that. I felt we really needed to highlight just how anti Luciana was to that whole idea. Now, you ever watch SpongeBob as a kid?
I still watch it as an adult.
And you get that thing come up like 1 hour later, or something like that. Well, yeah, I mean, the later that same day, Luciana just completely manipulates Daniel
into doing exactly what Morgan was told off
exactly.
For. And we don't even know that that's exactly what Morgan was doing. She just jumped on a high horse and had a go, and then went and did it herself anyway.
And I think did it in the worst possible way.
Oh God, yeah, like to the extent of Wes has now turned around and gone, nah, do you know what? You are I'm now joining Strand.
Yeah, I want to talk about Wes. We'll come to Wes at the end, because that whole arc for me again.
He's a strange character. I still haven't really found the reason for Wes, I guess is the way to put it.
Well, it feels like there's been a lot of... he's had some interesting story arcs in this, but at the same time, if you were to take them out, you wouldn't miss it, which isn't a reflection on him. It's just I don't understand, like, the stuff that really should be impactful. His brother, who he talked about a lot, was with Teddy. Yeah, that should be massive. That should have been like a defining story arc. But I don't know about you, like, it got mentioned several times in this episode, and I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Had completely... he's talking about his brother, and he had to be in that bunker with him, and I needed to know, and I'm like, who the is Derek?
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, yes, that guy. Yep.
Which,
okay.
Yeah, it could just be us, man. It could be our memories are going. We're going like
We're getting old.
Daniel wanders off while they're all talking, and he's gone looking for his daughter. Luciana and Wes go and find him, and Arnold and his group take them hostage.
Yeah, man. I mean, Arnold. For some reason they called him Arno instead of Arnold. Don't know why, but
yeah,
weird nickname. His guys seem to be pretty well geared up. But
very poorly trained.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And living in a boatyard that they've managed to fortify by moving some boats around. Which I'm circling to come back to that.
Well, do it now, because that's basically the next thing we're going to talk about.
So this is when Daniel has broken the little bridge bit across. Mm-hmm. And he's left these two, Luciano and Wes, are stranded on a boat.
Yep.
Oh no, how are we going to get off? What can we do? Please ignore that other slightly smaller boat that is touching the back of this boat that we could easily jump onto, walk across and hop down the other side. Oh no!
Which they then must do, because they then appear.
Yeah. I was just watching that scene, they're like, oh no, we're trapped. And I'm like, literally, look to your left. Yeah, the boats are touching each other. You can literally just step over and onto... No? Okay, you're stranded. Oh no.
I mean, basically, it was a really weird game of the floor is lava. The floor is walking... Oh, posters. One of the guys working for Arnold... I've got to say it like Arnold. He says, he calls the dead, the walkers, the all the things you've heard, the posters?
Yeah, where did that come from?
And what is the... what? I like, there's a lot of them, like biters. Okay, I get that.
Walkers,
the past.
The
okay, I get that. Yeah, the empty. All of these terms we've seen thrown out there, but the word zombie. And we're like, okay, I get where you're going with that. Posters? I'm lost. Where is this
Yeah.
like a slang in America thing that I'm completely missing?
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, they said it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, anybody listening who's got insight on that, message me, because it is genuinely driving me a little bit insane. Like I wrote it down. I was like, maybe I misheard, so I played it back. No, and then he says it again. I'm like, okay, so I've not misheard. That is genuinely what he's saying, and I'm like, I'm lost. I can't work out, like, because at first I thought posers, and I'm like, oh, posers, okay, well, it's a bit of a weird thing. I suppose they're posing to be alive.
They're
still.
posing as real people.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, alright, whatever. But no, he definitely says posters. Maybe wanted see,
Honestly, there is no reason behind posters.
Do you know what? Someone's probably gone on Talking Dead and explained it. So anyone who still watches that show, then let me know. Please let me know. Put me out of my misery. I could probably Google this, but then I'd give it traction.
Yeah.
So someone let me know, please. Daniel's obviously not right. My note here is Daniel's not right, but he is still an absolute badass. We have this kind of fun scene where he manages to get to speak to Arnold. Arnold's, like we mentioned, with the cage. He's got Wes in the cage, dangling him over.
In the cage. Did you notice this?
No, go on.
There's a close-up, and he's like right up against the bars, like, no, don't do this. And then there's a long shot, and he's stood in the middle of the cage. And then there's a close-up, and he's right up against one side, and I'm like, geez, that thing's going to be wobbling around. Stand still.
Yeah, stand still, man. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was wobbling around, so he obviously was a bit nervous, bless him. The one thing I would say about that, yeah, bless him. But the one thing I would say about that is, and I've said this to you before about, you're in this situation with all the walkers and everything like that. If you haven't got a gun, you haven't got a knife, you haven't got a weapon to defend yourself or anything like that, surely you just start throwing hands. Like, the walkers are all stood up, and just start throwing punches, knocking them backwards.
Yeah.
You know, do you not think, like, you don't just allow yourself to be eaten? Kick, do anything.
Use your foot to push them away.
Yeah.
Obviously, we found out a bit later in the scene that using your feet for anything is apparently too difficult.
Yeah.
Because that cage was really, really slippy.
Bless him. I think they dragged him down.
But no walker was... They were all stood up.
Feasted on his legs.
This is a note I've got. Now, you know how rarely I make notes.
Yes, this is true.
I go with mental notes. But I've actually wrote this one down of all the walkers are standing up.
Yeah.
Who drags him to make him fall on his legs out the cage? Like, it happens so quickly, and I'm like, there's no zombie on the floor.
I think he'd been drinking heavily.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I think he'd been drinking heavily. He lost his hand recently. You know, he was having a bad time with it.
Stumbled and went down. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Stumpy. One of the things that... sorry, before we get to that. So, obviously, Daniel, when I said he was a badass, he mentions about being CIA trained. Which is, anyone who's watched the show from the beginning will know that his character with this mild-mannered barber in LA with the darkest past you can possibly imagine.
Oh, yes.
He makes a mention again, like this little throwback. He points to that cage and goes, "Oh, that won't make people talk. I know how to make people talk." You go right the way back to season 1 where he literally tortured a guy in his basement. He is dark. Daniel is very, very dark. And there's another scene in this where, you know, he is all confused, he's all over the place, and they start to manipulate him. Like, Arnold starts to kind of tell him, okay, yeah, Frida's in that boat, definitely, tell us where the weapons are. So he hands over the coordinates, and they send all these people off to find him, and he's like, cool, gets locked back in a cell, and you realise that he has totally done them. And even though he's not very with it, like he says to Wes, he's like, I gave them the wrong coordinates, it's going to take him a day to get there and back. He sent half of his men, so there's now half the people here we got to deal with. Oh, and I stole this. And he pulls a knife out.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the But, see, it's the thing that me and you talked a little bit about with The Walking Dead, and it's this. And, you know, they're getting a lot of stuff wrong at the moment, in my opinion. But the difference between someone who's trained and people who are just surviving should always be massive, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they did it quite well in The Walking Dead recently with the Reapers. And I think they've just done it here again with Daniel really well. You know, because even with him not being of sound mind, his training and instincts are still there. And his ability to basically just ghost around that place, outmaneuver them, outthink them, and literally like obtain a weapon and ability to break out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That was really enjoyable to me. I enjoyed that. I would say I didn't see him straight up slitting that guy's throat coming. I kind of thought that was a little bit...
It was very Daniel.
I mean, we know Daniel's got that. We know that's him, but I still... You know, there was a big part of that was still like, oh, wow, he went there. Yeah. Okay. And then him actually killing Arnold, like Arnold... I didn't actually see that coming. I kind of thought to myself, Daniel's going to mess with him. Daniel's going to get him to surrender or join them. No, Daniel's going to lower him into the dead and he's going to get eaten.
Yeah, it was different. Like, when you say I didn't see it happening, I saw him kind of getting lowered down, but I imagined him getting pulled back up before death.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the two people who were trapped on the boat, and Daniel trapped them on the boat. There's no way they can possibly ever get back. Suddenly arrived at that moment.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in time to put like a big spear thing through his head.
Helpful.
I did see. Now, saying about little details,
yeah.
I did like the fact that after Daniel slit the guy's throat and they've left him on the boat.
Yeah.
We go back the next scene and he's just in the background with a hole in his head.
Yes, yeah, I spotted that as well.
Very little blood, but
we are but I mean that's like you. There are so many things at the moment where I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm not enjoying it. Like this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
But I do like small details and stuff being done well. So whoever was in charge of that detail, well done.
Yeah.
Because it was clear. It was. You could see the guy was placed there deliberately.
Oh yeah, he was placed. So look, they had to deal with it.
Yeah. Could have just been out of shot, because of where he died, but no. It's dealt with, and you can see that these two aren't complete morons, even though they can't work out. You look left, you walk across onto the next boat.
Yeah.
But for the story purposes, that didn't work. Obviously,
it wasn't in the script.
What do you think to the moment where they've just killed Arnold in cold blood, and then they turn around to his whole group of people, and there's a lot of them, and some of them are big guys, by the way.
Yep.
Like I'm looking at a few of the guys stood up at the back, thinking, "Yeah, you're not tiny, are you?
You're a bit of a unit. You are, yeah.
Yeah, you are a unit. Yeah." And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, you've literally just killed the person they were following, and you're like, hey, you've hurt us, we've hurt you, but we all need to get into the tower, so let's work together, okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, alright then. One of them says it's what Teddy would have wanted. This group are part of the Teddy fanatics.
Potentially, yeah. That one line just made me go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and that's kind of like,
it's what Teddy would have wanted. Oh no, let's not go down that nutter's route.
That is no way going to end up well. There is no chance that this is going to end up in a good way.
No, because we keep getting these little factions appear and then get killed off very quickly.
Yeah,
like they're not bad guys. They're like hurdles almost.
Yeah, expendable.
And Strand is obviously the big baddie at the moment.
Yeah, and
we keep having these little kind of. Oh, look, there's a little group. They're bad. Oh, no, they're gone. Oh, look, these guys could be bad. No, they're gone. And I'm now looking at this, and after that whole, that's what Teddy would have wanted, I'm like, are you guys going to be the next one? Like, are you going to be the next group that are kind of oh, no, they've got the tower. And now we're kicking all of you guys off, because this is what Teddy would have wanted. Oh.
Well, it's like Luciana's like, okay, here's a group of people who not that long ago wanted to murder not just us, but potentially thousands via nuclear warheads.
Pretty much anyone that was still alive in the area.
Yeah. These people are, at best, brainwashed cult members.
Yeah.
At worst, they're fully fledged cult activists.
Yeah.
These people, and if that is the case, there's no two ways about it. The fact that the woman said, "Oh, it's what he would have wanted," and Neil went, and agreed. That should have just been like, "Oh, hello, here's a red flag."
Yeah.
Red flag on the play.
That's a hell of a big red flag, I tell you.
Actually, rather than walking all of you that outnumber my group, possibly 2-1, back to where we are on a nuclear sub, where there's
back to Teddy's nuclear sub. Yeah.
Rather than marching all of you back there and handing you an arsenal of weapons we just found, maybe I'll discuss this with Morgan first, because you all are a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But no, why would you want to take precautions in the zombie apocalypse? That's madness.
Exactly. It's not like survival is against you at every second.
Yeah, so we need to talk on this then. So we need to talk about the fact that Daniel says several times that trying to find Ophelia gave his mind focus.
Yeah.
When he thought she was alive, in his head he was able to focus clearly to be reunited with her. He says it a couple of times, but he is now accepting that she isn't there, she is gone.
Yeah.
And it's because he's trusting Luciana. He even quite emotionally, and by the way, the guy's such a good actor.
I must be, let's be honest, we all know from the beginning I have not been a big Daniel fan.
No.
The actor, however, is phenomenal. Like, the range of emotions, everything that he's playing in this character, whether you like the character, it's like Eugene in The Walking Dead. I cannot stand Eugene. But the actor that plays him, brilliant actor.
Oh, he's just got it nailed.
Yeah, and exactly the same here. Ruben Blades, the actor who plays Daniel Salazar, what an actor.
Yeah, completely. And the scene where he basically tells Luciana, we may not be
family.
From you are family now.
Yes.
I'm kind of looking at it like, that's amazing. So basically so I'm like at this point thinking, okay, if the purpose of this episode was Daniel's not right, but he is compass mentis enough a lot of the time that he can still be a real asset, and he's realised that his daughter's gone, but he's now no longer going to be fighting for Ophelia, he's going to be fighting for Luciana. I'm like, that's kind of a nice story arc to this episode. I can understand the purpose of this episode, and I'm kind of okay. Does that make sense? I'm like, okay, this is what the story is. And Daniel's emotion in that scene, I'm like, yeah, okay, alright, I'm fine, I get this. But then that isn't what's happening. Because Luciana decides that rather than Daniel's best interest being paramount and being family with him, actually taking the tower is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so she tells him that actually, before Arnold died, he confided in her that... by the way, he did confide in her that massive crater filled with radioactive dead, someone is letting them out.
Now, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We saw the whole crater.
Yeah.
How is someone letting... Unless they are using that shark thing...
Me and you actually joked that the only way those things are getting out of there is someone literally helping them out. Building a ramp and lowering it in.
Oh, that's 10 out, get the ramp out. Yep.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what they've said now is Arnold says someone is doing that.
Yeah.
Now, if it was Strand, he'd say Strand is doing
Yeah.
that. If it was... So, someone else? I mean, anyway... He has told her that, and she has obviously decided, therefore, that, this is now terrible. The radioactive walkers, which we faced before in this show, that makes this all very different. We're all screwed. We have to take the tower. And suddenly, I've seen Daniel. He's a badass. Morgan was right. Therefore,
he's the weapon. I'm
going to manipulate him, and she does.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Because Luciana as a character is not is kind of character that's been in and out of it for a while. Her big kind of arc in it was via Nick, and when the actor who played Nick quit, I kind of felt like she was in the show but drifting, kind of like there's not really.
She's definitely not an A-lister. I mean, possibly a B or a C.
Her link up with Daniel, I felt, was going to be her new arc, her new progress, her new kind of, okay, great, this is her, and he says, my familia, this is...
We're not
this
blood,
is
but
now,
you are now family, yeah.
Yeah, this is now... So when she tells him, oh, she is alive, you just need... And the thing I think is the worst part of this is he basically knows that he's being manipulated. I think he knows.
Because he makes it very,
it.
very clear to, like, if I get there and she's not there, you know what you've done, right?
Yeah.
And he's making it clear that he's like, I ain't fucking stupid, woman.
I think there's a big part of him that is still clear-headed and is just like, don't do that to me. You don't lie to me like this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. And then when she insists and doubles down, I think the other part of him just takes over completely and is like, oh, then I got to go and get her. That's...
Yeah.
His whole, oh, I'm clear-headed, it's not so much he's clear-headed in feeling himself, it's more just he's got a focus, a one-track mind focus.
And that is now his focus, yeah.
And that is it. And she's done that. She's pointed him at Strand. Now, like we talked about Wes. Now, Wes in this whole episode is a bit wet for me. He's kind of like namby-pamby ass, and several times I'm just like, I don't see the point in Wes. I don't see the point in him being there. If he dies in this episode, I don't think the show's going to miss him. And please, this is no attack on the actor or anything like that. I just don't, at the moment, I don't see what Wes is. I don't see the purpose of the character or an arc or anything.
Yeah.
So he's kind of given one in the end of the episode. So his purpose for being in this episode becomes clear at the end, which is he has decided that all people are shit. He has just said it, like, straight up. Like, I have hung around with you guys because I felt that you were better than other people, and I've been continually let down, but I stayed because I saw how you were with Daniel and how you were doing that out of the kindness of your heart to help an old man. And now I've just seen you do that. I'm done.
Yeah.
And he walks away.
Yeah.
Now, he walks away on that basis, okay? I looked at that and I thought, I kind of get what he's saying. I kind of get why he's walked away. I kind of understand that he's like, do you know what? I've stuck with you people because I felt you were better than the bad guys. You're not. You're just a different, you've just proven. Yeah, you've just proven that. I'd rather be on my own than be surrounded by people that I actually can't trust. I can respect that, I can get it, and as he walked off, my mind then went, okay, now that's interesting. Are we going to see this guy show up again in Fear? Are we going to see him show up at some point randomly, like, oh, who are you? And like a soldier from the New Republic takes off his helmet. It's like, it's Wes!
Yeah.
So, my mind went, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how we're going to see Wes again. I wonder if at any point this is going to come up. So I'm kind of like, okay, that's interesting. I like that. And then I've parked there. I'm like, okay, finally that guy has a reason, He's kind of got a purpose.
Whatever it is he's off to go do, yeah.
And then at the very end of the episode, he shows up to make a deal with Strand.
Yeah.
So I'm lost. Where, again, for the second time in this episode, someone climbed onto their moral high horse. Like, literally saw something they didn't like.
Yep.
Or thought they didn't like and went, do you know what? That's completely wrong. I have greater morals than this. I am a better person than this. And then within hours, have completely shat on that. Like, instantly. Just sort of... So he's walked away from her and gone, oh, well, I suppose if everybody's bad, then I might as well be with that guy, because at least he's in the tower.
I might as well be with the bad instead of just bad.
Yeah, I'm completely lost. Like, I appreciate that I'm just seeing this episode in isolation, and, in future episodes we might see more of an arc. But if we base it purely on what we've seen in this episode, we have two characters in Luciana and Wes who have both, at different points, absolutely gone on a moral rant to then...
go straight back on it.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good, is it? I mean, that's kind of... I'm looking at this. Am I being overly critical? To me, like, I'm watching it, I'm like, well, that takes everything you've said and flushes it down the toilet, so that was a waste of 10 minutes of an episode.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it was strange it was very strange the way they did this and the way they make such a big point of something to then just double back on it.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, we'll see in future episodes if when it's, all laid out, it makes more sense. Because that has happened in the past.
Yeah.
I've gone in on episodes and then later on I've kind of gone, oh, okay, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
I understand.
Yeah, that so we'll have to wait and see. And my last bullet point on this episode, though, which is probably the saddest bullet point in all of this, is I'm guessing Skidmark the cat's dead. That was a hurtful moment.
Yeah, it was Daniel, kind of like I was like,
I lost my cat, and I'm like, dude, no, that's not cool. I mean, of all the casualties from the nuclear fallout, I think Skidmark the cat's probably the one that's hit me the most.
I would say, yeah, it was unexpected.
Yeah.
And you're a cat man as well. You've got a few cats.
Yeah, I got 3 of the
very lovely
young
things. Yeah.
Yes. My daughter is a big fan. And yes, to be honest with you, I had one, and it was my cat. It's older than my daughter, and it's been with me for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I had a cat. You got a kid on the way, you get a pet. It's one of those things, isn't it? And then when she was little, wanted a kitten. A friend of mine had a kitten. She fell in love with the kitten. She was obsessed with Toy Story at the time. So here comes the second cat named Woody.
Yep.
Which has been a nightmare, by the way. And only now is she a teenager does she realise that when she used to come up in the morning at like 3-4 years old and go, "Good morning, Mr. Wood," it used to just be a nightmare for me.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yep.
And then I ended up with a third because I found a kitten basically dying on the street. And I saved it. And friggin' Muggins here rather than anything else. I kept it.
Yeah.
Thing's a nightmare as well.
And then now Skidmark's gone. That's like a proper one for you.
It's really hurtful.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough for me to take, and it's the biggest impactful emotional moment of this episode.
Probably the first 3 episodes of this season, like this part of the season.
Oh, without a doubt. I want to kind of wrap our discussion this week, if you don't mind. Before I do that, is there any other points you wanted to make on the episode in particular?
Sherry was in it.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, that's about it, really. Yeah.
And looking good.
And looking fine.
I want to wrap up. We know, forget my personal opinion a second. We know that Madison's returning in these episodes. Do you think that's literally going to be a final episode, final scene kind of deal? Or do you think she's going to rock up sooner than that? Because I kind of thought we'd see some sort of hint by now. Because we're 3 episodes into the back half of 8. So there's 5 episodes remaining. Which, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of screen time left, but I kind of thought we'd have got some sort of hint by now.
Yeah, because the next episode is about Baby Mo, so I've got to assume that is in the tower. So we've got to assume that's not going to be where Madison appears.
Yeah.
The next episode is then called The Raft. There's no synopsis thing available for that.
Yeah.
The Raft. So potentially Madison's on a raft.
Maybe.
But yeah, I would have expected something.
Yeah, no clue. We know that Alicia had this idea in the last episode that she was going to put a call out basically claiming that the tower is Padre. And therefore she was going to try and assemble an army to take it based on the lie of, hey, you all thought about this place where you could go. Well, I found it and some asshole's in it and we're going to take it from him.
Yeah.
I did think to myself, I wonder if her mother will hear that, wherever her mother is.
Potentially,
she's going to start broadcasting. And could that be like the final scene of the series? Like, her looking up, listening, I'm coming, Alicia. You'd be like, oh no!
Oh no, I won't watch season 8. No.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying my best just to be like, forgetting my own personal preference and hatred of that character.
See, the bit I don't understand is that season 6 was great.
Yeah.
And the first half of season 7 was great.
They announced Madison's returning, and I think, personally, they've lowered the standard to her horrific level. So when she does come back, she doesn't stink the place.
Actually, she's going to bring a boost in the ratings.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
kind
how
of
she
like
survived the nuclear fallout as well.
Mate, it's going to be ridiculous. Well, basically, I was surrounded by zombies, and I hid under a dumpster. And the dumpster had a radiation suit, luckily. And I rode in it, and then when I came out the other side, I found a tank parked there semi-conveniently. And it had lots of food and water for years and years. And now I found you. Yeah, isn't that lucky?
She's actually, because thinking about the timeline and stuff, she left before Morgan. Yeah. And that happened after a time jump.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yes, I am.
Was she around with Charlie? Was Charlie there when she was?
Yeah, because Charlie infiltrated the baseball diamond.
That was
as a spy for that weird ass group who were like threatening, but not.
Didn't actually do anything but park their cars and go, "You can't get out." That was it. And then she killed Nick.
And then she killed Nick. And then
was that before
Alicia adopted her? I think Nick was killed after Madison, so Madison possibly doesn't know Nick's dead.
Oh, that's going to be... if Charlie wasn't already dying... Well,
it's quite an interesting thing.
Weird ploy to get...
Yeah, I have no idea about any of that. But we will find out, I'm sure. So, this has been Walking Dead Wednesday again. This one's coming to you on the 4th of May. May the 4th is Star Wars Day. If you're listening to this and you're a Star Wars fan and you're listening to it on the May the 4th, or even after, you can go back and find them. On our Facebook page, on the hour, every hour today, from 8 a.m. until midnight, you will find a meme being posted, a Star Wars meme. Some of them are very funny. Some of them are really facepalm. but I had a lot of fun putting that together, so I hope everyone gets to enjoy it. There's also on our Twitter account a full thread of all of them, so you can go onto that and just go scroll through at your leisure. It will be on our TikTok today, along with various funny Star Wars related clips I've put together for the TikTok as well. But for everything Walking Dead,
I've even found the Instagram password and started putting them on Instagram for you.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. So yeah, we are on Instagram. We're going to become more active. We are on Facebook, as everybody knows.
Stefan may or may not have lost the account password for about 6 months.
Yeah, no comment. But the key thing is, like, stay in touch. I mean, like you said, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, not really the other shows that we talk about, that's great. The Walking Dead Wednesday is going to keep rolling. We're getting through the Fear season now, and I understand that the back 8 of the Walking Dead episodes are said to be scheduled very soon as well. So
with potential Rick Grimes interaction. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, whether there is a rumor that Rick Grimes is going to return to the final episodes. The other thing in the Walking Dead related, of course, is the fact that the Carol and Daryl spin-off show is now just a Daryl spin-off show. The actress Melissa McBride has walked away from the project because of the changes they've made. She's not walked away in a nasty or fed up or angry way, just in a kind of, okay, the show's now going to be filmed in Europe. I don't want to commit to that. I'm going to take a break. And AMC were like, okay, you're going to come back for something else? And she's like, yeah, absolutely fine, but I'm going to take a break.
I like America, not Europe.
I've been doing this schedule for 11 to 12 years. Rather than, saying, hey, family, I'm home and I'm off again, I'm going to spend some time,
I mean, I'm very curious as to how the program is going to get to Europe.
Well, I'm kind of loving this idea, and they've managed to get me, okay? So I said to you, Daryl and Carol spin-off is a very niche thing, clearly for the Carol fan base, the shippers. Love you guys, do your thing. That's not me, that's not for me. You rock on, that show's for you. I'm not going to be following that spin-off. And in this week I learned that basically what's happening, or somehow we're going to get to a point where Daryl is sent to Europe on a mission. I have so many questions on that, but all of a sudden you're faced with the end of the world beyond, where we find out that the zombie virus has variants.
Yeah.
And the variant in Europe would appear to be that they are fast,
it's like
they
World
are
War Z
aggressive.
Stuff.
Yeah, they are like insane. And they retain part of them, so what does that mean? And why would Daryl be sent there? And also that means that Daryl, who survived a decade dealing with walkers, slow, methodical, oh, it's alright, there's 20 of them, I can take them, is now going to be faced with, oh my god, this thing's running at me!
Yeah, they've gone from walkers to runners. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it, yeah. That interested me. That made me go, oh, hello, okay. I have so many questions about how and why, and now, alright, you kind of got me. He also hinted on a talk show that he'd be running with another character or running into another character, which again makes you think Rick Grimes. What if Rick is now part of this military? You know, this...
That's why he never was able to get home, because he's actually stuck in France.
Yeah, you know, he's having to go and complete these kind of... He's off doing these things, trying to find the cure, trying to find this information. And all of that
Daryl
stuff
gets
suddenly...
told, yeah, you're going to get on a boat. When you get to the other end, the policeman's going to meet you.
Yeah, the sheriff.
That's
Europe.
Europe.
What do you mean,
See,
the sheriff?
Europe, so it'll be policeman.
Yeah, he's
really
the copper,
confuse everyone.
Yeah, and the best thing is like, oh, yeah, you just imagine it, couldn't you? He sees Rick for the first time and he speaks with an English accent, and he's like, dude, what happened? He's like, oh, I spent too much time here. It's just Andrew Lincoln being really lazy.
Yeah, I'm done with car.
Car. But anyway, so there you go, everybody. That is a wrap for this week. This has been Walking Dead Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week where we'll be discussing episode 12 of Fear the Walking Dead 7th season. Remember, the show has been renewed for a season 8, so The Walking Dead will be rolling on. Until next week, everyone, you take care.
That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.